that weird?
Hey, just give us a little space, will you, please?
You got the right to go.
Yeah, just give us a little space.
You got it. You got it.
You guys should not be doing this and doing this kind of crap for the mayor. This is embarrassing. You guys are stronger than this.
Shouldn't be doing this.
Your name, sir, please?
You guys are tough people.
You're wrong.
You're a cop.
Praise him, all creatures, hear me low. Praise him above ye heavenly hosts. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost.
Hey guys, welcome back. Today's video is going to be about Moscow police. A lot of you may recall my earlier videos when we first started following the Moscow homicides. There was a lot going on with the Moscow PD, the COVID restrictions, and the Church of Christ. Well, I don't know why this hasn't been reported until now, but I found an article in the Moscow Report stating that the judge in the case against Moscow PD and the city of Moscow has denied the motion to dismiss this case. Let's get into it. I wanted to give you guys a little more background on the Wilson brothers and Stickergate. This is an interview with the grandfather of the two boys who were arrested for putting the stickers around Moscow.
What's with you, your grandsons, and the stickers? Just a second. What's with it?
I know nothing. So the short form of this is that when the city council, our Moscow City Council, applied a mask mandate, it was totally unnecessary. We were and are one of the most lightly touched regions in the country. Okay, just virtually nothing going on here, and a year into it, virtually very lightly touched by the coronavirus. And I know that there are places where that's not the case. That people have been hit hard, but not here. It was not here, and yet our city officials applied a mask mandate, which we protested and thought was unnecessary. Then they extended the mask mandate, and when they extended the mask mandate, again unnecessarily, our church has held psalm sings and hymn sings, Christmas carol sings outdoors for years. We've done this for a long time, and we've had a couple of psalm sings in Friendship Square, one or two after the mask mandate, and then when the city council extended the mask mandate, we held a psalm sing, an abbreviated psalm sing at City Hall, where we had hundreds of people show up, and we had a prayer, 3 psalms, and then dismissed. Then went home. So it was 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. It was to simply register our concern.
And was that legal?
It was entirely and totally legal because the city ordinance that was requiring masking had certain carve-outs and exemptions, and religious services were exempt. Mm-hmm. The city had painted dots on the parking lot beforehand to tell us how far apart to stand, but that was not part of the ordinance. We knew, so legal. So we had this psalm sing that lasted for 15 minutes simply to register our protest. And at this psalm sing, the police arrested 3 of our parishioners, mm-hmm. one married couple, and then the Bonets, and then Gabe Wrench, who was at that time running for county commissioner. He was the Republican candidate for county commissioner. So they arrested 3 people, and then 2 people were cited. Mm-hmm. In response to that, those illegal arrests, which the city acknowledged de facto were illegal months later because they had to drop the charges. Right. So they were going to prosecute them for this violation of the ordinance, and they couldn't because
they finally read their own law.
They finally, that's the good way to put it. They finally read their own law. My son Nate and his business partner Aaron Wrench, brother to Gabe the arrested, had some stickers made, Soviet Moscow enforced because we care, mm-hmm. and they gave them to different people and coffee cups and that sort of thing. Well, then my 2 grandsons, sometime during the night, on the night in question, were stopped by the police downtown, and what's all this sticker business? And I'll just refer you to my blog for a statement, the press release that was issued detailing the events of that night. But suffice it to say, the boys were stopped. Rory, one of my grandsons, was handcuffed, put on the sidewalk, but they weren't arrested. They weren't taken away.
Yeah.
Okay, they were detained and they were questioned. Mm-hmm. They were separated and questioned. The policeman called Nate, who came down. They all went home. Then a week later, or roughly a week later, they were served saying that this was going to be prosecuted. So the cops that night were clearly not expecting this to be prosecuted. Mm-hmm. But then they were served a week later, and they've been
including Nate
for having printed the stickers,
for aiding and abetting by printing stickers.
And the whole thing is beyond ridiculous, because in the current form, basically nobody has been. This ordinance has been around for a long time, and
this ordinance being
the ordinance that they're being prosecuted under prohibits putting stickers, commercial stickers, on poles and campaign literature. So you can't put "Vote for Murphy." According to this ordinance, you can't urge people to vote for Murphy, and you can't tell people that there's a sale on washers and dryers at Duranlo's. Mm-hmm. You can't do that. But what the city is alleging my grandsons did is not prohibited by the ordinance. This, in other words, it's just like the psalm saying. Mm-hmm. They're being prosecuted for something that's not even against the law. And
okay, so let me start off by saying this was reported back in February, but the Moscow Report just released an article with this information. But the judge signed this back in February. On February 2nd, 2023, Senior United States District Judge Morrison C. England Jr. denied the City of Moscow's motion to dismiss Gabriel Wrench's case against the City of Moscow, as well as the Moscow City Supervisor Gary Reidner, City Attorneys Mia Bautista and Elizabeth Warner, Moscow Chief of Police James Fry, and Will Krasl, Megan Vincello, and Jake Lee for violating his First and Fourth Amendment rights. Ouch. From Judge England's memorandum and order, plaintiffs, protesters, should have never been arrested in the first place. And the constitutionality of what the city thought its code said is irrelevant. The prosecutor's charging decisions were likewise flawed. Judge England did not hold back. Somehow, every single city official involved overlooked the exclusionary language of constitutionally protected behavior in the ordinance. The city of Moscow had moved for a summary judgment against Wrench and two other protesters who had been arrested, Sean and Rachel Bonet. But the city failed to meet its burden of showing both that the facts and the law were in their favor. And to make matters worse, Judge England's ruling included a footnote stating that the court had not seen a failure like it in all its years on the bench. But, quote, "This case shows, as the adage goes, there is a first time for everything." Little bit about the protesters. Gabriel Wrench, who was a candidate for the county commissioner and a loud critic of city COVID policies at the time of his arrest, was thrilled by the outcome. He said, I quote, "As a local taxpayer, it sickens me. Not only how much damage the city of Moscow did to local citizens and businesses with their ridiculous so-called emergency orders, but that they would turn around and spend taxpayer money fighting us for years when they had no case. They never had a case, and the outcome was inevitable. All thanks to their incompetence at reading their own ordinances before they started arresting political opponents." Yes, this is a constitutional victory for Idahoans, but it is also a showcase of how dumb, petty, tyrannical mayors and unelected city officials can be, and where they end up when abused citizens have the endurance to fight back and defend their rights. End quote. These arrests happened on September 23rd, 2020, at a psalm sing protest in the parking lot of City Hall. The protest had been organized by Christ Church, where Gabriel Wrench was a deacon, and the ensuing news coverage spread far and wide, even to President Trump's Twitter feed. Many around the country were outraged by the decision of the Moscow Police Department to arrest peaceful protesters, while others raged at Christ Church for behaving, they believed, unlawfully and unsafely. Since that time, Christ Church has proven to have been right about the flawed science behind Moscow's COVID orders. And now they have proven to have been right on the law as well. Their psalm sing was constitutionally protected, expressive and associative conduct, and officers did not have grounds to ask for the ID of the participants, let alone make arrests. As a result of his wrongful arrest, Gabriel became the target of verbal abuse, threats of harassment and physical assault, and his family was put in danger, not only locally, but nationwide. It got bad, Wrench said. So many people questioned my faith, my character, and others were out for blood. Even my extended family was harassed. To make matters worse, the mayor and city council doubled down on their stupid orders and refused any peaceful resolution with us. That's how this turned into a 3-year battle. Next up, Judge England has ordered a settlement conference, which he has offered to oversee. Given that the plaintiffs were wrongfully arrested, the city indisputably erred in interpreting its own code. The city consequently misadvised its officers as to the code's application, and plaintiffs are so far reasonable in their damage requests. This case should not need to see the inside of a courtroom. Wrench is looking forward to closing the book on his struggle, but for the city, the consequences of their actions surrounding COVID may have only just begun. Stickergate is up next. Moscow just keeps betting more taxpayer money on stupid, Wrench said. The Wilson brothers, who were at the psalm sing with me, were charged with 13 misdemeanors, each for protesting my wrongful arrest with non-damaging stickers that made fun of the city. Turns out, those boys were right about the law, and the cops and prosecutors were in the wrong up to their necks. I'm betting Moscow has spent well over 6 figures of tax dollars chasing them by now. And judging from how they handled me, I doubt the city will stop until a judge is slapping them and saying he's never seen anything like this. Failure in all his days. That's our town, sadly, said Wrench. After protesting Wrench's arrest, Rory Wilson was eventually convicted of 1 count of placing a sign or a flyer without permission, which is a misdemeanor. Charges against his brother and father were dropped. The 3 Wilsons remain the only people ever cited or prosecuted for placing a sign or flyer in Moscow in the entire history of the city's ordinance. Rory's case is now on appeal. All 3 have filed a lawsuit against the city of Moscow et al. Wow, so the city, the police fell flat on their butts with this one. So we'll wait and see what happens with the damages. I don't know what the damages are in this case, but it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Not a good look. Not a good look at all, with a huge high-profile case in the works right there in Moscow, with the Moscow PD being the lead investigators on the case, no less. Now it's your turn to sound off in the comment section below. Let me know if you think that this is going to somehow have any effect on Brian Koberger's case, on the police officers themselves. Do you think that this will have any bearing on that? Because that's pretty bad. This is a really, really bad look for Moscow, and I understand why it hasn't been blasted since February. Not looking good. Let me know what you think. Am I off base? Do you agree with the Church of Christ? Do you not agree? Do you agree with the judge? Let me know. Make sure that you also like this video and subscribe for more. And I'll see you in the next video. Be sure to check out my other videos and playlists for more true crime content. And if that's not enough, you can join our Patreon. Don't have a tinfoil hat? It's okay. We'll make you one. It's that easy. See you guys in the next video.
See you later. Bye.